And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
We get together, have a few laughs.
Welcome to the Iowa Talk, guys. It's the Ides of March, and the drums of war are beating fast and hard. Like double bass in a Slayer song.
Or hearts racing in fear.
Yeah.
Being murdered.
Actually, yeah.
So,
absolutely.
We're coming off our MK Ultra. I know this is being released in April, but...
Sure, we have a little catching up to do, and actually stuff's just so hot here at the end of March, time of recording, that we're talking about it. We got to get into it.
Holy smokes, a lot has happened in the month of March.
In this episode, we're going to bring some Iranian and U.S. tit-for-tat in Syria. Yeah.
We're also going to bring you some news about what's going on in France. They're having some garbage issues.
To say the least.
To say the least, in more ways than one.
And then we're going to just touch on and dabble on some bank situations from early March.
Right. So going off, Theo, you said you got something you want to bring up.
We should give a shout out to the folks downriver in Mississippi. A tornado went through and did a lot of damage.
Oh,
so that is taking the yes, absolutely, and so that is taking the bulk of the news right now. But U.S. installations in Syria were attacked on the 24th, and then before that there was tit for tat. You'll notice that said a lot.
Tit for tat, is that the Pentagon's paperwork to everyone?
I don't know. There's just a lot of media outlets saying tit for tat attacks. In Syria.
Weird.
With the media. Iranian.
The media continues to repeat.
Influenced people and stuff. Yeah. They just repeat stuff. It's interesting. So I started with a CBS New York video that came out this morning. That came out 3:25. U.S. military bases in Syria targeted. Iran is suspected or
alleged.
Iran. Yeah.
They don't even know.
Iran backed. But, it's all over the media.
Yeah, depending on who you read. That was the thing we were looking at was the other day is some contractor, we'll get into it, some contractor got killed and a few others injured. Yeah,
we're going to get into it. Actually, the attacks allegedly were in retaliation for an Iranian drone strike that killed one American contractor. Is that a CIA contractor? I mean, probably.
Yeah,
right?
Or an NGO. So, it'd have to be a DOD contractor.
And injured 5 service members in northeast Syria. I know we get to the name of that place later. Interesting, the base air defense was not fully operational at the time.
That's weird.
Yeah. Interesting.
Wow. Yeah, Iranian suspected drone strike. So
the president was in Canada with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he had this to say.
The United States does not emphasize seek conflict with Iran, but be prepared for us to act forcefully, protect our people.
I don't think he was supposed to say emphasize there. I think that was probably in parentheses, and he wasn't supposed to say emphasize. Do not emphasize.
At least he can string together sentences a lot better than he could in the beginning of his presidency, huh?
Well, yeah, but it appears that they're writing it all down for him. He's just reading off a script. Well, so literally.
I'm sure he writes it himself. That'd be like,
aren't you, darling?
That'd be like in Lord of the Rings.
You are so cute.
That is so sweet of you.
All right, dude.
All right, man.
Yeah. Oh, I like. Look at you, TP, giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Hey, man. Just good for him. He hasn't fallen up any stairs lately either.
No, that's not true.
Oh yeah.
So here's where it gets really interesting to me. I think you'll really like this, TP. Iranian drones used by Russia in Ukraine, according to this 1.5 minute or so clip I found on YouTube from CBS New York.
Yeah.
Are causing a flashpoint between Iran and the U.S. Why?
Well, Juan, then what was the U.S. drone doing over the Baltic Sea in Russian airspace?
You and I know this. That it's rules for thee, but not for me.
They crashed into our jet, man. Our drone, man. Their jet crashed into it. No.
Dumped a bunch of fuel on it.
That pilot is an ace pilot, dude. To know exactly where the end of his frickin' aircraft is at.
Even the Soviet Union had crack pilots, man. I mean, these guys are no jokes.
This guy obviously was a crack pilot. That's what I'm saying, dude. Because if he would have crashed into that drone at the flight at the speed he was going, I don't care what kind of armor was on that frickin' aircraft, he would have been damaged as well, right?
It's like the
So to say that he crashed into it is stupid.
I didn't see the video.
You should check it out.
After what the U.S. called an unsafe and unprofessional intercept of a U.S. drone, officials now say the MQ-9's operators erased sensitive software from the drone before it crashed. The drone was taken down after a nearly 40-minute encounter southwest of Crimea, when Russian Su-27 fighter jets flew in front of it and dumped fuel in its path. One jet flew underneath the drone, likely attempting to get in front of it while dumping fuel, and clipped the propeller on the back of the MQ-9.
The United States will continue to fly and to operate wherever international law allows.
I'm just saying.
I've watched a lot of videos of just aviation and whatnot because it's fun and it's really interesting. You know what I mean?
Remember that one time, speaking of aviation, about in Ukraine, the ghost of Kiev?
Yes. Adam Kinzinger.
It was a video game video that was being spread online saying, like, look at this ace Ukrainian pilot.
Yeah, and Adam Kinzinger, the congressman, was like, stack those bodies and whatnot, and it was a total dud. It was fake.
It's like, yeah, you're dumb. That was a Russian bot that got us. Anyways, sorry.
So, I don't know what business of the United States it is that Russia is using Iranian drones in Ukraine. That's
weird. They're allies.
Well, we now know that China worked out a peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Aren't they Sunni and Shia? So they're like different factions of Islam.
Yeah.
And China worked out a peace deal between them.
Weird.
So the East is coming together. The global South is turning away from the North. And the rules-based order, as it's called.
Well, Sean Hannity, we saw that clip where he called him the axis of evil.
Right? Yes, we were distributing that privately. Yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah,
because
it wasn't just him. There were a bunch of people doing it, man. You called it. Yes, you called it.
I'm saying we call it because we're one team, one fight, brother. So,
heck yeah,
it's. I'm like, this is really crazy.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm not happy to be being right about that, but holy smokes, dude.
No, but you know what? Part of me is happy for other parts of the world that they're going to get out from under Washington, D.C.
Well, yeah, I mean, good for them.
Yeah,
right, absolutely.
Because how many times have we talked about confessions of an economic hitman?
Yeah.
The U.S. going in with, WTO, World Trade Organization contracts, high interest, tax the living heck out of the people and finance it through those organizations in some third world country. They can never pay the loans back.
Ever.
And then,
and then they come and just take their resources.
A military base gets installed.
By the
Something
way,
like that.
you guys owe us.
Yeah. Pound of flesh, as John Perkins said in that book.
Yeah.
Go get that book. We don't even have an affiliate account, but educate yourself. Get that book.
It'd be cool if we could try to get him on the podcast sometime, but we'll see. If you're listening, John.
It was also discussed that Iran is allegedly months away from nukes. You know, I remember a really intelligent guy named Ron Paul. We always go back to him too, saying the Iranians, not saying that they're even nice guys. We're not. I don't think he was. The regime in Iran is probably a bunch of power-hungry sociopaths, just like everywhere else.
Yeah.
And obviously, religiously, well, I mean, they use religion to dominate and rule, right?
Well, Albert Pike had said that religion was the opiate of the masses, right?
John Lennon did too, I think, right?
Oh, Albert Pike came before him.
I don't know. But, you know, the thing that Ron Paul said was, they have every incentive to want to get nuclear weapons. So does North Korea. You know why? Because the United States is always breathing down their neck and hounding them.
Right.
And we're not saying they're nice guys. We're not. But, you know, people want to do their own thing. Even if they're power-hungry crazies. American officials claim it is unclear if the attacks were ordered by Iran or simply encouraged, but Iran is responsible regardless. Of course they are. Really don't like them now with their new deal between them and Saudi Arabia. Oil will start going east to China.
Yeah.
For the Belt and Road Initiative. A new Silk Road that Xi Jinping, president of China and chairman of the CCP, I can't remember, a number of years ago he rolled it out. I can't remember where it was. I saw it the other day in some article I was reading, but that's why they want a peace deal in Ukraine, man. One of the reasons, at least. And that's why, you know, we're not going to cover it too much, I don't think, but Xi Jinping recently visited Moscow and Russian President Vladimir Putin, right?
Yeah.
And to try to work out a peace deal, has some sort of like 12-point plan. They need Ukraine. That's how they're going to get the new Silk Road to Europe. And keep in mind, this is what scares Washington D.C. economically, because then Europe doesn't need the United States anymore. I say more power to them. America first, baby.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm so for bringing all of our stuff, making it in-home, defending our own borders.
We've been demanufactured a lot, though. I mean, you know, deindustrialized, if you will.
Yeah. Well,
people don't want to work in factories, I'll tell you that.
People are going to have to figure it out, or they're going to keep living under the system. I mean, people may have to be learning how to grow their own food here soon if they don't already. No.
I bought a bunch of garlic today to plant. By the way, you can just go to the store, buy any store-bought garlic.
Yeah.
And plant it. It's all seed garlic.
Do you hear about Rand Paul is trying to get a vote in Congress to repeal the
War Act or whatever, the
war authorizations
of 2001 War Authorizations Act.
Authorization for the use of military force.
I did see that.
Yeah, it was put in place, and
only 9 members of the Senate voted for it, huh?
Yes, 9 to 86 vote.
Well, I guess we're talking about that very peaceful regime right here.
Those 86 must be looking at the dollar signs they're going to make
from Lockheed Martin and campaign contributions and whatnot. But to wrap up this article here, roughly 900 U.S. troops are in Syria, and there are more contractors than that. Apparently, they're working with locals to control remnants of ISIS, so that would probably be like Green Berets, right?
101st.
Well, they're in Romania.
Oh, yeah, That's right. On the border of Ukraine, getting ready to go in.
That's right.
If they haven't already. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So the next video that I watched on YouTube was WUSA Washington, D.C. from 325. on March 24th, there were strikes against U.S. facilities, essentially in retaliation for retaliatory strikes from an Iranian proxy or something like that. Work that out. I don't know.
Or Iranian-backed militia. I've seen it called too. Yeah.
The Republican Guard probably trying to do this.
They shot us, so we shot them. Yeah. So then they shot us, and then we shot them again, and then they shot
tit for tat
us again.
Tit for tat.
So
that's what we're calling it.
We should just nuke them.
So
what are they doing, killing our boys over there?
The last one was CBS New York.
Hold on. I want to get into that.
What
are they doing, killing our boys over there? Like, I get it. That's not good. I don't want to see Americans die anywhere, But why are we in Syria?
Yeah.
That's what I'd really rather ask. Why are we in Syria still?
Why were we ever there? It hasn't done any good
at all.
So,
and Russia still know Assad is a Russian freaking ally.
Well, Washington D.C. hasn't been very friendly to him.
Right. Again, why would Putin be like, yeah, this is okay?
As far as what?
What if Russia went and frickin' plopped a camp down up in England there? Took a corner of it over and said, it's ours now, motherfucker.
Yeah, it wouldn't work out too well, would it?
But we can just do it to their allies.
Well,
yeah.
I think that Syria is a little weaker than the UK militarily.
Yeah, I'd say that too. Okay, let's say Ireland.
So the funny thing about this WUSA 9 Washington, D.C. video that I watched is that...
Which is linked to an article.
I don't know which one came first, but it was the same BS clip from New York that I saw first. I at least saw that one first. So they just piggybacked and repeated the same thing that the people in New York saw. Glad I don't live on the East Coast.
Yeah.
No offense, folks.
Hey, I saw Taiwan, or not Taiwan, but North Korea just tested a super tsunami torpedo ballistic missile, some crap. It can go for miles and miles and miles and then go in the ocean and create a tsunami.
Wow.
To hit your coast.
Interesting.
What if... Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. Because we do know also that North Korea is just China's playground.
Like what? Like concentration camp paradise or what?
Well, not just that, but also on, hey, here's a bunch of materials, build this stuff, let's test it out.
Oh, they're labs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they already don't care about the people. Let's just use this place. Let's just
It's dark here all the time.
They have the camps and stuff too set up, so they're probably
Have you ever listened to a story about North Korean survivors that made it out and stuff, dude? It's terrifying.
I've seen a few interviews and whatnot.
I like how this one gal, she went to school here in America, and she's like, these kids are like, me, my feelings are hurt because some other stupid guy said this to me. And she's like, really? Let me tell you about this one time I saw this kid begging for food and his guts were hanging out.
Yeah. You ever had a car battery hooked up to you?
You ever seen your neighbor get shot with an AA gun? Yeah, nothing left of them.
Right. Yeah, probably not.
You want to talk? You want to talk about your traumatized kid? Yeah. Anyways, going back to this NPR article.
Yeah. Well, the next one is an NPR.com article from Emily Olson and Bill Chappell on March 24th. Quote: U.S. forces in eastern Syria were targeted in a rocket attack Friday morning in tit-for-tat strikes between the U.S. and militia groups supported by Iran. So, militia groups supported by Iran.
Right.
According to end quote there from NPR.
That's what the Pentagon said.
Yeah. In the attack, quote, 10 rockets targeted coalition forces at the Green Village in northeast Syria, end quote. U.S. Central Command said in a news release issued Friday. The latest incident came just a day after a militia drone strike killed a U.S. contractor. Injured 5 American service members and wounded 1 other contractor in Syria, the Defense Department said, end quote, NPR article.
Yeah. It says, intelligence sources say the drone, which struck a U.S. base near Hasaka, was made by Iran. We're the U.S. intelligence. Trust us. I mean, if you haven't seen how great we are the last 20 years in hunting down Osama and all these terrorists.
Well, that was to end quote the NPR article
unquote.
there. That was.
Don't you remember how good we did when we found those WMDs that Saddam had?
That was Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, the one who's been trying to get us into war with Russia. In my opinion,
I think they all are at this point.
Oh, so that's something else.
Dude.
So that's something else, and that sort of. I don't know. We have a whole lot more we could talk about here.
Yeah, we don't have to cover every single part of the article.
But
bada bing.
Yes. So Iran is another way to sort of get to Russia, right? Because they do military deals and whatnot. That's probably who's making the biggest technological advances for Iran's, what should we call it? Like conventional military, aircraft and whatnot.
Yeah.
Whereas Russia's buying Iranian drones. And guess what? Some sources say that Iran is pretty capable of making drones.
What if Russia gave Assad a few of these drones? So it could even be Assad's at this point. That's too early to tell. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. It's a really good point. And you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, that's a speculation on my part. Our part. Yeah, and I like how the U.S., they shot 10 rockets, so they're like, we hit them with precision airstrikes by F-15s. Taught them a lesson.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that it was
America.
I'm sure it was an impressive strike.
Oh, yeah. You see the pictures. They had some of them on some of these articles. I mean, war's been raging there since the Civil War erupted in 2011.
And the United States hasn't been doing anything to help. No. You know something that nobody else talks about?
Remember al-Nusra when Obama and Biden were aiding Nusra? Aiding them folks over there in Syria, but there was the ones in Kenya were the bad ones.
Well, not to mention chemical weapons attacks that could never be pinned on Assad, but they were sure blamed on him.
Oh, we were totally getting ready to go back in there. I'm like, this is like
I've heard this one before.
Vu. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Where have I heard this story?
Oh yeah. Iraq.
Oh, Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
And where he got the gas was probably from when the United States was fighting a proxy war
with
Iran in the 80s against Iran.
With Iraq.
Nobody remembers that.
Oh, yeah. And then we gave him the mustard gas.
Saddam Hussein was a really, really convenient mad dog then, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Selling us that cheap oil.
Remember the video of him going into the Iraqi parliament when he seized power? And people were just getting pulled out and they're never seen again.
Yeah.
Remember that? You see that? Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
He was a good guy then.
Yeah. He was a real American hero.
Yeah, he was.
I'm surprised he didn't get put on Time magazine.
He might have. Be careful.
Hold on. This is where we need Erock here to fact check this.
To help us out because he's so good on the IT.
Yeah, he is super good. I'm looking at Saddam Hussein, Time magazine. We're duck-going it because, Google freaking sucks. Let's see. Well, he was on the front of Time magazine, but not for those things. Here's one from 2002 and 2003.
Antis, though.
Mm-hmm. All antis. Nothing praising him. Oh, here's one 1990. Iraq on the march. This is when he was our friend.
Not in 90, because that's when Desert Storm happened and he was going into Kuwait.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That was in the 80s. This is when he was throwing babies out of incubators.
Yeah, onto the floor. Well, that's when the young lady went on into Congress and she claimed to be a nurse from Kuwait and saw babies being taken out of incubators, but it turned out she was the
cold floors to die.
Yeah, they were crushing their skulls into their boots. And it turns out she was the daughter of some Kuwaiti ambassador in D.C., and she was coached up by a big PR firm.
Yeah.
In Washington, D.C.
No one will ever figure this out. Meanwhile, you have a bunch of guys didn't even see combat, but were screwed up because the fear of chemical weapons was so high that they were, here, take these experimental drugs. We don't know what they'll do to you, but they might save your life.
Oh, where have we heard this story before?
I don't know, man. The 50s somewhere? MK Ultra
and Operation Paperclip. They were working on vaccines for biological and chemical agents.
Oh yeah. That one doctor. Yep. Here, take the soap. It makes you very clean. You guys are dirty.
Yeah. Well,
You're so dirty.
That was Otto Ambrose, the simple chemist.
Yeah, this will make you smell like leather.
Yeah. You have been fighting hard. Coming from Normandy.
You have strong muscles. You want me to help you rub this on you?
I doubt Otto Ambrose was doing that. But, of course, to beat a dead horse here, Dr. Walter Schreiber, the Surgeon General of the Third Reich, was working on the vaccines, and the Undersecretary of the Third Reich, the Deputy Surgeon General of the Third Reich, Kurt Blum,
yes.
Blum was working on the agents.
Right. Anyways, so yeah, that never ends.
So there were, that was Saddam. It all ties in. That's what we're getting to, folks.
Yeah.
And you know what the moral of our story here is, and you know what, I know Teepee well enough to, I guess, where I'm speaking for us and our show here. Don't buy. One thing that you can count on is don't buy the war propaganda.
Please
don't even. It's such an easy lie to tell. Anytime they're talking,
dude,
about why we need to do strikes here or give Taiwan weapons, they're lying. They're lying through their freaking teeth
every single time.
Yeah, without fail.
Even Hillary Clinton, she's been on record saying, "Don't forget, these same people were the ones that we armed 20 years ago that we're fighting today." They know.
Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. Nobody was ever held for account. To him in 2011 getting killed in the streets. That place was a beacon of hope for the continent of Africa at the time.
Yeah.
And the United States
excellent.
Destroyed it.
Well,
we are not saying Muammar Gaddafi's a nice guy. He wasn't.
Right. He was still a dictator.
But have him killed, just make Libya
all
a
because he wanted to get rid of the dollar and drop out of OPEC.
Yes.
And Obama's like, "Oh, I got something to show you, buddy."
Which little sneak peek, we have an interview from a little shindig that we went to in March. We're going to be recapping March and coupled with breaking news through April, probably, because we spent so long on MK Ultra. Hope you guys love that stuff, because we sure did.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and
but
it was fun.
Anyway, we had a chance to interview a fella, and he talks about that too, the African gold dinar, the gold-backed currency, in which Muammar Gaddafi was going to use to trade oil, offer a gold-backed option.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure Russia,
China
would have loved.
Europe. Anybody, which the U.S. couldn't have, right?
Well,
which was why Nord Stream.
Saddam Hussein was selling oil in euros and stuff, not U.S. dollars anymore. And then we went in there and killed him. And he, then as soon as we got into Baghdad,
hung him from them gallows up there.
Like the criminal he was, because terrorists, son of bitches.
Dude, he was an awesome criminal when we needed him, though.
Aren't they all?
Yeah,
aren't they all? Yeah, so anyways, getting back to the war bullshit propaganda horse stuff going on right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's really it, man. Don't buy the BS.
Yeah,
it's they're wrong every time. They are wrong every time. We don't need to commit any troops. We don't need to commit any weapons. Anything.
No more of our taxpaying dollars need to go there. Ukraine, I mean, especially seeing the war footage coming out of there.
It's horrible.
It's terrible. Nobody's coming to save these guys.
I can't remember where I saw it recently, but somebody said it might have been Colonel Douglas McGregor said there's a generation, there's a generation of young Ukrainian men being wiped out right now.
Yeah, and young Russian men too.
I don't think that the Russian losses are as bad as...
No, they're not.
People might count.
But as long as Ukrainians continue to fight, they're... Like I said, man, from the reports that I've been seeing and we've been reading about, they haven't even brought in the full force of the Russian military yet in Ukraine.
I don't think so. And we've mentioned this before.
So also don't believe the horse crap on on the news about, oh, man, Russia's running out of ammo, so they got to buy it from China now.
Yeah, we're not trying to tell you what to believe, but certainly we're just saying it's easy to tell that they're lying. This thing's not over. Russia's been 3 weeks away the whole time, right? From running out of ammo and yada, yada, yada. No, and they haven't.
Yeah, we reported on that one a few months ago. Or not reported, but talked about. Yeah, it's pretty wild, dude. There's some other stuff going on here, too, huh? And Biden warns on this Reuters article, Biden warns Iran after tit-for-tat strikes in Syria.
Right, which we played the audio.
Yeah.
So I wanted to call this next little segment on our next little topic, the nation of France riots and expensive fancy jewelry disappears.
What, like some Pink Panther shit?
Start here with a March 17th article from thedailymail.com. Christian Oliver and James Callery for Mail Online. 17th of March, updated on the 18th of March. Tinderbox Paris, French capital, gripped by another night of violence over Macron's pension reforms as rioters clash with police and cardboard effigy of president is burned.
Ooh.
According to the article, the controversial bill to raise the retirement age was forced through Parliament. They must have some sort of nationalized retirement or something like that. Well, I mean, should it surprise you with France or any major European nation at this point?
Well, I don't really think... I think that's the immediate talking point, the CIA talking point. I really don't believe these people are this upset over... They have to work 2 more years of their life until they get their retirement.
Is that what it is, 2 years?
That's what they're saying. Yeah, it went from you have to be 62 to 65 or 4 or something like that. 2 or 3 years.
Apparently, the procedures are set to start a no confidence vote on Macron's government, according to the Daily Mail.
Well, it's about time. That guy's nothing but a freaking George Soros, freaking
Rothschild banker.
Klaus Schwab bootlicker.
And not to get into the crazies, conspiracy theories about them, but no, he literally is a European banker, and they're very, very prominent European bankers.
Yeah.
Have been for
and
500 years.
And we've already talked about it. He's been through the WEF's Young Global Leaders course.
Sure. He's one of the ones Klaus Schwab, was talking about when he was talking about having... When he was explaining
so
having...
Happy with Trudeau.
Yeah. Trudeau and
his cabinet.
Macron. President
Just like
of France.
Macron.
So it's interesting. I don't think I sent you the video, but it was circulating around various social media. Twitter is where I saw it, I believe. Macron was talking about how French people need to tighten their belts on TV. And he was waving his hands around, talking with his hands. All of a sudden, his arms go under the table. And this watch, which was speculated to be worth thousands of dollars, just disappeared.
Off his hand?
Off his wrist.
Into the crowd?
No. Yeah, into the crowd. Yeah, like a magic show. No, it's just like he took it off under the table, bro. So it's not a good look, right?
Wow.
You're wearing this expensive jewelry, as you're explaining on French national television.
How we need to tighten our belts.
We need to tighten our belts. We all need to come together, and he's got to watch. What? So it's interesting. I was looking at watches on a watch thing today, just out of interest from reading this. I don't wear a watch. I'm married, and I don't even wear a wedding band just because I don't like jewelry.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel right. Wedding bands can get caught and stuff too. And your finger can be degloved. But regardless, president of France, and he comes from a banking background, you can spend, I saw like a $9.8 million watch, $28 million watch, and I'm not saying that that's what it was, but you can spend anything you want on one of those things. Forgive my ignorance if you already know that, but...
I don't know anything about them.
I mean, and our listeners too, of course, but, I mean, even if it's like a $2,000 watch, come on, dude. Who needs $2,000 on their wrist?
People that... want to feel important, that want to show you that they're more important than you, that you are underclassed.
And $2,000
outclass, fool.
That's nothing for a watch, apparently, from what I was seeing today, man.
Oh, really?
Oh, nothing. That's nothing.
That's cool. I don't know why.
I couldn't imagine. There's so much better stuff to spend $2,000 on.
So what you're telling me is I'm trying too hard. I should have been a watchmaker.
Like you could have you like a little 2-seater flat back canoe with a little motor on it. And go out and...
As long as they're not down in one of those rivers that have those jumping Japanese carp, they'll knock me the hell out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Asian carp.
Yeah,
like the
Asian
Illinois
carp.
River.
Yeah. No offense to our neighbors over there, but
they're pretty offensive. Their government, at least.
Yeah. Well, we all know how racist Chicago is for not re-electing Lori Lightfoot. So
yeah, right. Wasn't she like the first mayor in 40 years? First Democrat in 40 years to get booted out? I don't know, something crazy. But anyway, yeah, so there was, I want to say in Bordeaux, there was like a city building that was lit on fire. There were fires. There's burnt a cardboard effigy here, apparently, of Macron. And you're not really, I don't know, some people are saying you're not seeing this on mainstream media. Again, I haven't watched those guys for 15 years.
Yeah, I don't really watch. I just, from what I see on the news, from YouTubers.
And as you can see from the last segment that we did on the Iran strikes on the U.S. Syrian bases, even as I was looking for articles for that, like Fox News is in step, New York Post, New York Times, they're all talking about Iranian strikes, doom, 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 war drums, right?
Right.
So they're all aligned on that. And on this, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not saying anything about it.
Well, remember when the Yellow Vest protests were going on?
Yeah, that was like, what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
Maybe a little longer. Yeah. You didn't hear a peep about it over here on mainstream media.
Really?
No. They're just like, oh, those silly French. Look at them go. They got beat by Germany 2 times.
Had to bail them out.
Yeah.
I hate that stereotype, but
makes sense, dude. The Germans hate the French, so why were they going to air them on their television shows?
The French actually have, like, historically one of the most successful militaries in
I know.
In European history. And they are very capable militarily.
Remember,
I don't care what anybody says.
It was the British military that conquered Napoleon, right? Battle of Waterloo. Was it the Duke of Wellington? That sounds familiar, right? I don't remember, but I do remember that's how Rothschilds supposedly took control of every financial institute in London.
England, yeah.
In England, pretty much the whole country.
London, if you got London, I mean,
British
come on.
Kingdom. Yeah.
I mean, they took control of, like, all the bonds in the Central Bank of Europe, right? Mm-hmm. Or of the Central Bank of England.
Of England, yeah. So, yeah, you're right. If you have London, you have the rest of the country.
I mean, you probably have...
So
how much of the continent of Europe? You just defeated Napoleon. So, and where was Waterloo? Stupid Prussia or something? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So it's crazy that they're still upset about that. That's why they got Macron.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That was speculation on my part as well.
No, I mean,
you know what I mean. But
yeah, and something else that we don't really have any sources on, but there are a bunch of Dutch farmers that have been driving tractors into what's Dutch? The Netherlands? Yeah.
Yeah.
That been driving tractors to the capital and whatnot because of new fertilizer laws and.
Oh, that was been going on for a minute. Also, yeah, spraying manure all over City Hall and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe so.
They're in France. They're also dumping. So there's a strike right now, like union strikes all over the country.
Sure.
In Paris, and the waste management pickup struck.
No.
Yeah. So people are just showing up to city establishment buildings and just dumping their trash. They're just throwing it in streets. Like, it's starting to look like a third world country out there right now.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, that's, at least from the pictures that I saw, obviously, you know, you got some really good photographers out there that can make a lot of stuff in a small area look pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I'm looking at pictures of
they weren't messing around, though.
and-
Yeah, they were burning stuff down, too. Yeah, they're not messing around over there in France, dude. I mean, oil tankers are getting rerouted because of the strikes in France that are continuing to Rotterdam to avoid the French port of Le Havre.
Le Havre.
Le Havre.
That was a huge D-Day hub. I
Oh, was
believe.
it?
Yeah.
Nice. I did not know that. Yeah. Supposedly France is on track to lose 500,000 barrels a day of crude oil refining for the month of March as a result of the strikes and tanker diversions. Woo. That'll teach them. Now you won't have petro, you stupid peasants.
According to the article, French Interior Minister Gérard Darmanin told radio station RTL on Friday that 310 people were arrested overnight, most of them in Paris, after protests on Thursday, which would have been the 23rd of March.
Okay.
So, 310 people arrested in one night. I mean, that's a
Pretty
sizable number.
significant. Yeah. How do you hold that many people?
Don't hear about nothing like that around here.
No.
Macron resign, apparently was chanted. Tear gas was used by police at the Place de Concorde.
Yep, seen videos of them all, and they're shielded up and they're doodad shooting.
Saw some of them were actually taking their helmets off and joining the protesters.
You did? That's nice. I didn't see
some
it.
of
That's
them.
awesome.
I don't know where. I can't remember that or anything. But
They were like, piss on this, mate.
water was sprayed, apparently.
We gotta use French one. It's French accent.
I do not.
Oui, oui. Anyways. Oh, this is from the 17th.
I think that people are getting upset everywhere. I mean, grocery prices and everything's just crazy.
Right.
The entire financial system of the West is just bad shape right now. Credit Suisse was just bought by who? Can't remember. But
the banking collapse. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the other big stuff been going on.
Yeah.
We should talk about real quick.
Silicon Valley Bank. What was the other one?
Yeah, Silicon Valley Bank was the biggest one.
And I think it like bond yields because of Fed interest rate hikes is why a lot of these institutions were losing money. Just holding on to government bonds and not yielding the money that they were supposed to. So it's interesting how they're getting bailed out completely and wholly too. I mean, you know, they're so well tied.
SVB was tied to the WEF. They were partnered with the WEF, just like FTX.
And donated to the Democrat Party a lot. Exclusively, almost, virtually. So well tied, and you had a bunch of celebrities coming out and saying they need to be bailed out.
Yeah, because
these are our friends.
Yeah, they got you that house you liked.
But, you know, the credit union here in Iowa or Nebraska or Minnesota or something, Wisconsin.
Yeah, and of course it's. I love what they're. Okay, so Silicon Valley.
We'll let them go.
Was the largest bank failure since Washington Mutual went under in 2008, which essentially started off the financial crisis.
Bear Stearns going under and whatnot.
Which weird, because they were saying
Merrill Lynch.
The same thing. There was no bank collapses 2 years prior to any of this. Kind of in that same bubble now.
Yeah. Well, big time. Bigger. They didn't stop doing any of that.
Yeah. And the quantitative easing, now the Fed is also increasing the interest rates, right?
Yeah.
That's tightening the noose.
Which frankly needs to happen, but interest rates need to go up, but there's no restraint on government spending, man. They're not spending any less money. Biden is asking for a $6 trillion budget next year. That's insane.
Outrageous.
That is insane.
That's outrageous.
That is civilization collapsing.
Him and Barry got away with it for so much, and that's
Trump
dude. And
too.
honestly,
Trump
they
too.
should have let
Trump
the
too.
freaking and Trump too. They should have let the dang on economy collapse in 2008. I mean, that sucks to say, but we would have been in much better shape now.
That's the whole point of the Fed, and that's something that's being talked about widely right now. Is that one thing that you had when you had more decentralization in the banking system prior to the creation of the Fed in 1913 was, sure, a big institution would go down and it would cause bad times for a certain segment of people, but it was for like 18 months at the longest. And then it worked itself out. Now, and phenomenon, with one centralized bank, you're seeing, the Great Depression that lasted 10 years. And a lot of people that, like to brag about how a world war pulled us out of it. Yeah, well, that's not cool.
Right.
It's not cool
millions
at all.
of people died.
Yeah.
Millions of lives ruined.
Yeah, we've seen movies. We grew up, our age, we grew up watching movies where women in Iowa in the 40s were getting, letters of their sons.
Yeah.
Freaking dying in Europe or on the islands. Normandy, the islands in the Pacific.
Yep.
The Sullivan brothers from Waterloo, Iowa. I want to say like 4 of them were on the USS Indianapolis when it went down. A lot of people know that story. The sharks ravaging them and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's not cool. That's what pulled us out. Oh, yeah. Well, a good old war.
Yeah.
A good war.
Saving Private Ryan, especially, growing up, like, just watching all these young Americans, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids just get mowed down.
By the tens of thousands.
Yeah. And so also in Saving Private Ryan, when the Germans are trying to surrender, they're like Poles or something. They're not actual Germans. So they were being forced to fight by the Germans.
Sure.
So when they were trying to give up.
Czechs.
Yeah.
What? What? I'm sorry, I can't understand what you're saying. What'd he say? What'd he say? Look, I washed for supper.
And they're like, oh, couldn't hear you, sorry. But there was one that surrendered. He was a machine gunner. There was a documentary out there, and he said the German officer had a pistol on him and was like, fire that machine gun. So he had killed tore up 4 or 5 boats of men.
But he had a Luger to the back of his head the whole time?
Mm-hmm. And he said at one point he just had his eyes closed and he was just crying. He was 19.
Yeah. Just that wouldn't
probably murdered over 100 people that day.
Wow. Yeah.
Terrible.
With an MG-42.
Yeah. But hey, man, look what it did for the U.S. economy, bud.
There you go. Pulled us out of the Great Depression.
Duh.
That thing was going on since 1929, man.
Yeah. We needed that break.
There was a Dust Bowl in there.
Man.
There's all kinds of shit.
The Wild West.
No, that was before.
Oh, yeah, that was a Hollywood Wild West happening.
Yeah.
Right. That was the Hollywood version.
Movies with Gene Autry and shit.
Yeah.
I think, during that time.
Yeah, and they taught all these kids grow up killing cowboys and Indians. Boys want to go outside and play cowboys and Indians. Whee!
Here's an M1 Garand.
Yeah.
Unless you're in an airborne unit, we got a smaller 30 cal for you.
Well, then they also, after World War I, they're like dirty Germans.
They're Jerry's.
The Jerry. Yeah. So the U.S. has always propagandized their way through war and made the enemy look.
Propaganda in the 20th century was huge for all of those wars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Observably, you can see it. There were.
They call it war propaganda
as
at
far back
universities.
as the Civil War, and I bet if you go far back further than that, to the Revolutionary War, but for sure World War I, there were journalists, American journalists, that were speaking out against U.S. involvement in that war, the later part of that war.
Yeah,
that were jailed. Some of them even died in jail.
Really?
From flu and whatnot.
Oh, or they hung themselves.
Yeah, could have been. But
yeah, by crushing their own throat.
Propaganda, man.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that's Sun Tzu, right?
Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Yeah, deception talks. What does Sun Tzu say about deception?
I don't know.
All warfare is based on deception.
Right.
Is it not?
Well, you remember the old quote?
Outsmarting your enemy.
The first casualty in any war is the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember reading...
Can't remember who to credit that to, but...
Dick Winters.
Oh, Major Winters, the Band of Brothers guy?
Yeah. The guy that was leading them, starting off as lieutenant. Yeah, he was like, at the end of the book, at the conclusion, he was like, oh, I love that, outsmarting with the boys, outsmarting the enemy, this and that, blah, blah, blah. you could look up real quick how old he was when he wrote that book. But in that book, he's talking about, he's like, I can still remember the look on the guy's face when I put a round right between his eyes. And he's like in his 80s, I think, when they wrote that book, 70s or 80s. I mean, he was pretty up there. But all those guys, they came back home traumatized. There was one guy. So speaking of Band of Brothers, that's cousin, the Pacific. They, the one guy, Lucky, was what they called him, his name. He came home. He became a writer and stuff and everything after the war, and he ended up getting Alzheimer's or dementia or something. But they said his in the interviews that I've seen with his family, they said that his kids said, he towards the end there, he completely forgot who my mother was, who his children were, but he never forgot Guadalcanal or Peleliu. He always.
Oh, I would imagine.
He's just sitting there at the retirement home like,
I bet it would be really
hey, man,
easy to just live in those moments.
You want me to tell you this one story about how I gunned down like 80 Japs in one night so they didn't kill me and my friends? Like that's... Yeah. Thank God I never had to fight a war like that, dude.
I can't find the year that Band of Brothers was released. And
not the one that it was...
But he was born in 1918, so I would imagine he was in his 60s, 70s. So it had to have been 30, 40 years after the war ended. And I mean, yeah, I would imagine that there were some very, how do you say this? Like, experiences that were very unique to all of your senses. Right? There's probably a certain feeling to being close to some sort of large piece of ordnance going off near you, right?
Right.
Heat.
Yeah, he was born in 1918.
Right, remember seeing
like you
that.
said. Yeah, Beyond Band of Brothers is the name of his book.
Oh, okay.
But no, yeah, dude. And he also grew up on a, like, Dutch Quaker.
Oh, in Pennsylvania or something?
Yeah, in PA. I wouldn't say Quaker, but
Quakers
strong Dutch roots, and where they prided themselves and took,
hard work, and
they prided themselves on hard work, on doing the right thing, and if they had people under their command, under their people they were responsible for, they took care of them,
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm not going to looking for that, but anyways.
Well,
I
think that's
real quick. No, all right, sorry. So that was a huge bunny hop, but those 3 banks that fell in the U.S. was Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and Silvergate.
There we go, Signature.
They collapsed in early March. And, of course, Janet Yellen and the rest of the frickin' Fed
Jerome Powell
are saying it's the people's fault for withdrawing their money.
Yeah, right.
How dare you take out your own money?
That's how this always works, Teepee.
But how many...
The little guy gets screwed somehow. They pay for the losses of the major banks.
And they're blaming it on the little guy.
Absolutely.
These were these companies that took out millions of dollars.
These guys all rub elbows and drink champagne and eat caviar together
smoke
and shit,
cigars
man. Absolutely.
And molest children together and shit. Yeah. And so they were and then to turn around and be like, it's your fault. So remember when GameStop stock was like freaking bankrupting fundraisers and shit?
That would have been awesome.
Or hedge funds, I mean.
That would have been awesome to become a billionaire, man.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But they're like, all these private amateur stock traders that started up since COVID started, it's their fault. So the little guy was all getting blamed for that, for these
I never got
multi-millionaires.
Yeah, I never got much into that and whatnot, but once again it was the little guy's blame for actually a group of people uniting and outsmarting these jackasses.
Right. And the jackasses getting beat at their own game.
Ruh-roh, can't let that happen.
No.
So yeah, bank failures, France burning down.
Yeah, dumping garbage everywhere.
Late part of the month, we got more excuses to try to demonize Iran and get in a war with them and probably proxy them with Russia and China and all this stuff.
Like I said, they've already been labeled BRICS as the axis of evil. They've already been, we called it. Yeah. Now the mainstream media and individuals are starting to call them that now. Yeah. The war drones.
Don't buy into it.
Yeah.
Well, we shouldn't tell you what to think.
No,
think for
you're right.
yourself. That's what
Don't
this
believe a
podcast
word we
is about.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what this podcast is about.
So
look for yourself, and I'll tell you that's our position. We're not buying this bull crap. Not one bit. They've lied about it for over 100 years.
Right.
All of this.
We keep getting lied to about it. So, anyways, yeah. Hey, if you guys like this episode, please like, follow, share, subscribe, share with your friends.
Tell your mother. Tell your stepfather. Tell your stepmother.
Yeah.
Tell Grandpa Joe laying in the bed.
And his neighbor.
Get him a chocolate bar. Do a dance.
Yeah.
But tell him about Iowa Talk Guys while you're doing it.
Yeah, if he's not doing anything important.
Right.
You know, if he's just hanging out in his room, might as well give us a listen. You might like it. Also,
5-star reviews are really cool.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. 5-star review. We're working on getting on Apple so we can get some nice worded reviews. But
we're working on it all. Just spread it like a brush fire. Spread it.
The best so far has been you guys telling other people about us. We really appreciate that. So just if you can keep doing your thing, we would appreciate that. We got some more stuff coming down the pipeline for you folks. We hope you really enjoy. Also, follow us on our Twitter
at Iowa Talk Guys
and our Instagram, Iowatalkguys-podcast or _podcast. Sorry.
And always remember, don't eat the yellow cake
ever,
or drink the Kool-Aid.
Iowa Talk Guys out.